Hello.
You know the Norwegians, they are very, very, very healthy. They don't want tourists coming over, slamming down the beers.
Well, they're all in the liquor shop buying it, and
Yep.
they're all in the bar.
I know, but what I'm saying is Norway is famous for healthiness.
Skål.
Yeah, it's famous for fish. Did you eat much fish?
No, because we were traveling.
Right.
Well, you can't travel with fish, can you, in the car?
Tin of tuna?
Well, no. We had some. I tell you what was nice one night. Yeah, the first few nights we turned up outside a supermarket, and there was a guy with a drop-down front van selling loads of fish, but it was all
Knocked off?
smoked. Yeah, no,
Knocked off?
No, it wasn't knocked off, was it? It's like fell off the back of a wagon. There it is, mate. It's a broken box of fish.
Is there anything you can tell me that's a bit juicy?
No, because it's
Well,
Norway.
Mr. Goody Two
They're all,
Shoes.
it's like the Norwegians and the Swedes. They're all controlled by the government.
What do you mean they're controlled by the government? No, they're not.
Yeah, they are. They're taxed to bloody
That doesn't
buggery.
mean they're controlled.
Yeah, but it is.
Why?
Because it's like they think that because they're in this safe communities and they have to go to work, the wages are a little bit high, but everything is so expensive and they're taxed like ridiculous amounts.
Yes, but it's safe. And they're not
Is
all
it?
alcoholics.
No, but they're not happy.
Of course they are. It's
No,
the
they're not.
happiest. Brian,
What, Norway?
have you ever heard of the book The Danish?
No, that's Denmark. That's Denmark, isn't it? But Denmark, isn't it? Trying to Cornish there.
Hello.
Daddy, I love him.
Mother thanks you.
Right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello and welcome to the It's a Drama podcast. We are bringing you this podcast from Athens in Greece.
Yes, we're
remember
in.
where I was then.
We're in Kallithea, which is a suburb of Athens, and it's not even sunny, Liz.
Bri, we are back. We
I
are
know.
back on the podcast as promised, up on the terrace of our Airbnb in Athens,
Yep.
in Greece, where we've just spent a month apart.
Yes, we have.
And we're back to share that with you and tell you how it went.
Yeah.
I feel really nervous. I feel out
because
of
we haven't done a
podcasting
podcast
touch.
for to you people that are listening out there in the dark. We would have done a podcast last week or the
Yeah.
week before. But to me and you, we haven't podcasted for a month, Nelly.
Do you miss me, Bri?
In what way?
Did you miss me?
Yes.
Oh, right. What
Right.
did you think I said?
I don't know. Did you miss me as in a certain part of me or something about me or?
What?
I don't know.
Okay, so
Yes.
anyway, there's a couple of housekeeping rules here now that I just want to talk about.
Right.
Not housekeeping. I don't know why I said
I don't know
housekeeping
why-
rules. No,
yeah.
a couple of points I wanted to make.
Right.
See, I'm a bit nervous. Right, okay, hang
know, I
on.
can see that.
Give me my Uzo.
All right,
Hang
all
on.
right.
I
Let's
just
have a
wait a
cheers
minute. Wait
anyway.
a minute.
What did Greek say? Cheers.
Bottoms up.
Get it down, yeah.
Yeah.
Uzo, wow.
Right, this is what I wanted to say. I wanted to say, first of all, we're videoing this for YouTube, as we do every single time we podcast.
Yep.
But this video podcast is a little bit different because it's going to have B footage over it. It's also going to include private video diaries that I made in Paris, Brian made in Norway, and they are videos of us in actual Norway or Paris. The reason I'm saying that is because if you are listening on audio, and I know we have lots of people who do listen on audio, and thank you so much, you might just want to, just this once, come over to YouTube. We'll try our hardest to describe, where we were and what we were doing and what it looked like. But you might this once just want to come over and have a look at the footage that we made for you.
Yes.
So yeah, that was the first thing. And then the second thing is this podcast is going to be, we're going to talk about our experience. And then at the end, we are going to share our personal video diaries that we made when we were separated.
You were in Paris, I was in Norway.
Yeah.
Yes, I think my first one was just when I got to above the Arctic Circle
Yeah.
after about 10 days of travel. Yeah.
So let's start there, Bri. Let's start there because I
What?
feel as if we got off the plane in London and it was almost like you were pushing me.
I
You were
wasn't.
pushing me away, like, go, Liz, go on, go. Your brother met us, Dave met us at the
Yeah.
airport, and you went off on this mega adventure
Yes.
to Norway, and I went off on a beautiful city break to Paris. But I just feel like, you've had such, compared to me, mine's been very internal and deep and lots of thoughts, and yours has been lots of adventure and sightseeing. And anyway, Was it?
Do you know, they were both as adventurous as each other, other than all of the only difference is I had to pack up most nights and get ready to move on to the next place.
Yeah.
Whereas you just stayed in one place.
Yeah.
So it's not that it wasn't an adventure for you, because you still weren't adventuring around Paris as such. But I can understand what you're saying, but it was just it's hard to put your finger on it.
So what we thought we'd do for this podcast is we were going to not interview each other, but we're just going to ask each other, because to be honest, we've only been in Athens a day, and we haven't really had a chance to catch up. So this is our time. But I do want to say, just before we jump in, is if you are new to the podcast, I'll just give you a quick backstory. Me and Brian are from New Zealand. We live in New Zealand with our 2 adult kids, Sonny and Tessa.
Who are with us.
Pardon?
Who are with us.
Yeah, who are currently travelling with us. And we, after a rough 18 months last year, we lost my mum and my dad and our dog, and it was just it was a year of loss. And we decided to make this year, 12 months, a year of connection and adventure and healing and life searching. I don't know. It's just we wanted to spend time together and make the most of our life.
We were apart.
Yeah. So what we did was we buggered off.
Month 3.
Yeah, exactly. The first month, Brian spent in Norway on a road trip with his brother and our son, Sonny. And I went to Paris with our daughter, Tessa. And that's what we're here to talk to you about. So that's just catching you up in case you are new to the podcast.
Yeah.
So, Norway.
Well, do we want to start with Paris or do we want to start with Norway?
No, I told you I was going to do this.
No, but
because I feel like, I don't know, Paris. Anyway.
Okay.
Go on. Norway. What was
Norway road trip. Bloody expensive, Norway.
So was Paris.
Yeah.
I can't believe. I tell you what.
What?
All these people that are going on about New Zealand expensive. Who can afford to live there? You must be a millionaire. Sod off.
I know.
Go and live in Paris.
Yeah. Have you been to Europe lately?
Yeah.
Or do you live here?
It is so expensive. Well, in Paris,
do you know what?
Anyway.
Greece isn't as much, but I can imagine Paris would be. But Norway is I think it's expensive, and then put another 50 to 100% on it.
Really?
That's how it was.
When was the first time that you were in Norway? So you hired a car?
Yes. I had a car, and that wasn't overly cheap. I think for the 21 days, because we had to put Sonny on the insurance, was an extra $200 to put him on, because he's under 25. He's 23 years old. But it's still, for 21 days, was about $1,500.
For 21 days car hire?
Which to me is a little pricey.
Yeah.
But it's not overly extreme. We had to get a car that was big enough and had 4-wheel drive. So we got a Toyota RAV4 hybrid. Actually, it was a plug-in hybrid, and they didn't give us any charging cables.
Didn't they?
How ridiculous
I don't
is
mean
that?
to be rude, but I'm not really interested in this.
I know, but you're asking about
that. I know, but I'm asking about Norway. I don't care about the car and the cables.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is, did you like Norway?
Yes, I did. I did like Norway, Liz.
Did you miss me?
Yes, I did, Liz. But
it's boring, Brian. It's boring.
Like? No, it's not. People out there be wanting to know all this stuff.
No, what they want to know is...
There's plenty of chaps out there that love cars, and ladies like cars as well.
I don't care.
Yeah. How did you get to the Nord Cape?
What we want to know...
Nord Cape, Nord Cape.
...is you were with your brother and your son. You're away from your wife and your daughter.
Yeah.
How was it? That's all I want to know.
We actually drove for the first 200 kilometres with our knickers on our heads.
Yeah, well, you know.
We couldn't afford any drink because it was so expensive. No, it was just... I'm thinking of the first thing when we got there, because you can say, did we enjoy it? And it was just arriving there and getting to our first night. Felt like I'd been traveling for probably 48 hours. And so we just collapsed in this place the first night. And even Dave was like, because he'd come from Florida. My brother lives in Florida, and we'd met in London. Excuse me. And we got terrible colds as well while we were there. But the second night, it started like we were playing. There was a table football, babyfoot or foosball, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's when we got to realise, oh my God, we're going to be doing this sort of thing every night. It's
like a boys' trip.
Yeah, it was just, you realise all of a sudden. And we'd bought some Norwegian liquor, which from the airport, which is called Aquavit. And it's disgusting.
Is it?
And so, yeah, we ended up playing a drinking game, trying to get rid of it because nobody wanted to drink it. It was that disgusting. Because we thought we'd go full in Norwegian, and so that's how it started off.
Because I've got to say, before you go on, and I did mention it earlier, when we were at the airport and Dave was there, and you were like, okay, I mean, we literally... We had 10 seconds. We got off the plane, got our bags, and then it was like, right, go. We're going one way, you're going the other. And it just felt like I was having a massive plaster ripped off my eyebrows.
Yeah, but it took about 40 minutes for us to say goodbye because you wanted microphones, you wanted this.
I was just making that up. I didn't really. I just didn't want to leave you.
I know, and because
I was too scared.
And I think everybody else could see that apart from you. They couldn't see the plan that you were trying to just keep me there a bit longer just to make sure you had everything. Can I have your iPad? Well, I need my iPad. Or no, yeah, but I need to do my sketches.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, here's the. So I had to unpack my bag, get the iPad out.
It was scary. It was scary.
And I could see it was.
It was.
And you were worried.
And it was all right for you because you were going off with your big brother.
Yes, he is my big brother. Yeah.
And he looks after you. So you knew that you were you could just kick back now and relax. And so you did, playing your babyfoot and drinking your liquor. Whereas
Dave bought the liquor.
Whereas I knew I had to step up. I had to step up and be the mum. And no one else was going to look after me or tell me how to charge the iPad. Yeah. I had to do that myself.
Well, Tess would tell you how to do that.
No, she gets annoyed if I ask her things like that.
Yeah,
she says I'm halfway, simple. I should know better. Yeah. So anyway, was it just like, oh my God, I'm free. I'm going...
Yes, it was, Les. Is that what you're doing to say? I didn't even look at it like that. I just looked at it as I'm going on a trip with my brother up to North Cape, and Sonny's here too. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm free. Let's let her. I know you are, but it's
not really.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So the idea of the trip was a long driving day, 2 nights in the same place, a long driving day, 2 nights in the same place. And occasionally we'd have to do just one single night. And they were the hardest nights because literally you felt like you got there at 8 o'clock at night. Hopefully somewhere was open because most places weren't, or we had to cook for ourselves, because most of the accommodation was self-catering, and it was pretty abysmal self-catering, just like a single hob or a no oven or something like that, maybe a microwave. So, but we had great food. I'd made sure that we...
out or in?
No, in. We only ate out twice on the whole trip. It was too expensive.
Was it?
Yeah.
When you say expensive, how much?
Well, we went to Trondheim, which it was about halfway, I suppose. Maybe not quite halfway. Halfway maybe distance, but time, because the route was so windy and going on lots of ferries, the latter part to the Arctic Circle and above. That was just like the last big city that we were going to stay in. And we'd got there, and unknown to me, there was an induction hob, and we have induction at home, so we know how it works. But above it in the extractor hood, there's a little safety device that if you put a pan on, turn it on, and you move it off and it detects the heat, it shuts the hob off. And you just get this beep, and you don't know.
Sorry, what are we talking about?
I'm just saying why we didn't eat out.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you were telling me how to fix the hob.
No. So we couldn't get the hob going.
Right.
So we had all this food.
Yeah.
And we couldn't cook it.
Right.
And we didn't know that you just had to press the reset button on this button that nobody tells you about.
Even though your brother's an electrical engineer that works on yachts.
Because it just flashes, goes beep, beep, and switches off. And it's like, I was trying all the breakers and everything. Anyway, we had to go out that night in Trondheim, and it cost around about $300 for 3 meals.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah.
What did you have?
Dave paid.
Yeah, well, that's what
I'm
just
saying.
Said,
I'll get
He's
this.
so generous.
And that's what I mean. It's unbelievable.
He was so lucky.
It was a nice restaurant, but it was like a chain where they would cook meat and then they bring it on this big stick and then they put it on the on your plate, and then they'd slice bits of, a bit like a kebab house, when they slice it off the big kebab.
Yeah.
But it was just on bits of steak and different cuts of meat. There'd be lamb, there'd be all these and you just chop bits off, and then they keep coming around. And you had a little, like a token that if you didn't want any more, you put that on the end of the table,
right.
So you didn't want any more.
Is Norway clean?
Yes, it is. It's very clean. Yeah.
Do people speak
no rubbish.
English?
80% of Norwegians speak English. So
Right.
that means almost everybody speaks English, down to a cashier in the middle of nowhere will have a full-blown conversation with you. And everybody speaks English. Maybe some of the old people don't, but you don't really get to see them.
So you booked the trip. You
Yep.
sat down before we left New Zealand and you spent days planning this trip,
Yes.
booking all the Airbnbs, planning your
Yeah.
route.
It took about probably 40 to 50 hours to
It took you ages,
plan the
didn't it?
trip. It was
Yeah.
the hardest trip I've ever planned.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
When you were doing the trip, did you feel pressure that it was
Yes.
like, yeah, did you?
All the time because you're so focused on just getting to the next place. And you just think, I mean, I'd made a good notes and things, and I was pretty 100% sure, but you're always thinking, did I get something wrong? Did I get my dates mixed up? Did I book 2 places on the same night or something like that? And the amount of times I'd get up in the morning and go, where are we going? And I'd get the date wrong.
It's a lot of pressure, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. And you'd think, oh, shit, I've done it wrong, or we should have been going around that way. There was one where we missed a ferry, and I'd written it in the note. Bang, we had to be there at 9:30 or something, or 9:45 to get, and it's the only one I'd written that we had to get the ferry at 9:45. And I'd forgotten why. I should have wrote a note why, because the next ferry was at 4:00 in the evening. So,
And did you miss it?
yeah, we missed it.
So
Yeah.
what did you do for the day?
We had to backtrack and do a 4-hour
Was there any like
drive.
friction? Was there like, oh, you
No,
idiot?
because what I had done halfway through the trip was I said to Dave, "You check on the ferries, Dave, because I'll
Give
always
him a
check."
bit of responsibility.
Yeah, just a bit of responsibility,
Yeah.
and he did. He started checking on the ferries.
Why
and
didn't you give Sonny that responsibility?
Oh, because I don't know. He's a boy, isn't he? You know, as in he's a young man, but he was trying to work in the back of the car most of the time doing coding because his website had broken or his
Right.
server had broken. And so he was just in the back coding all the time, spending $15 a day on data.
So you leave and you get on in your car and you
Yep.
start drinking and playing your babby foot and you start feeling a bit of pressure, but you
Yep.
get on the ferry, miss a few ferries, that's all right because it's fine and you're $300 on the food. I'm not going to do that again. I'll
Yeah.
fix that induction hob and get eating
Yep.
inside. When did you start to settle in and and look around and go, oh my God, we're in Norway? And just tell me, like, what just was there a moment that you just thought, look where I am, and where was it, and what could you see?
Yeah, Benny's even from the night after the Babyfoot is one of the scenic drives where you go up these 11 or 12 hairpin bends, and you get to the top. There's a viewing platform up there, and when you're up there, you're looking at it because this is rather weird, like because this big concrete thing that just juts out, and then when you read up on it, it's a deconstructed pyramid. And that's what this amazing structure
What,
at the
Egyptian
top.
pyramid?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, but they call it the deconstructed pyramid. There's like steps up one side and steps up the other. It's like as if it's been folded out, but this long thing that just shoots out is a concrete step that goes up. And you're just standing there looking down at the road that you've come back up. And I think it's things like that. And it was really cold. There was still snow on the ground. It was, middle of May. And it was really cold.
It's really funny. Just a quick story. When they were packing to go, when you were packing your bags to go, and Sonny was like, so what do you think I'm going to need? And he had his big ski coat from Canada,
Yeah, he
didn't he?
did,
His
yeah.
black and white ski coat that he bought for Canada. I said, what are you doing with that? He said, it's my ski coat. I said, well, why are you taking a ski coat to Europe with you? And he's like, I'm going to take it to Norway. It's going to be cold. I said, Sonny, it's spring. It's not going to be cold. And then
It's under the midnight sun.
every time you sent a picture, his nose just looked blue. And he was in that crappy little fleece thing that he
Yeah, I had to
had.
give him my fleece.
Cold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I felt so bad.
yeah.
I wondered how many times he'd said, oh, what a...
Yeah.
like cursed me.
Oh, he
for
did. He said I
saying-
should have brought my coat. And we had to go and buy coats in the end.
Did
We
you?
had to go and buy 2 coats. They were 70 New Zealand dollars each.
That's not bad.
No. I searched high and low. It was when we were in Trondheim, we thought, right, this is the place we need, because it's getting colder. Every day we'd move further north and it was getting colder and colder.
So was the pyramid place where you thought...
Yeah, well, that was the
Out-of-body moment sort of
first
thing.
big reason why I'd chosen that route to do that particular, because it's a famous route, that up through the hairpin bends and stuff. And then there's this plateau that you go across to get down to the next area, and there we stopped and walked through the snow to get to these beautiful rivers and things with just babbling brooks and things coming over them. It was just, you just think, I was in the summer in New Zealand, or autumn, early autumn, 4 days ago, and now I'm in the snow, and that just didn't seem right, like, you know, because I'd expected we'd come into the spring in Europe, but boy, it was cold. Even when we were flying in the plane, we could see all the snow, and we got there, and the guy at Oslo Airport, who was the doing border control, just speaking perfect English again. What are you here in Norway for? And I said, oh, we're driving to North Cape, Nordcap. And he went,
Is it Nordcap or North Cape?
it's both. The English is North Cape because
Right.
it was found. It was a British sailor named it North Cape in 1752, I think it was, as he was trying to find the northeast passage to China over the top of Russia. And that's when they found North Cape and the most northerly point in mainland Europe and marked it as that. But the Norwegian pronunciation is Nordkap.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, so you can say either. But he just said, you do realize we've had nothing but snow for the last 2 weeks in Norway. And we were like, nope. Sonny hasn't got a coat neither. So it was just like, oh, maybe we should have checked the weather before we left. And maybe Sonny should have taken his coat. But yeah, so there was just every corner you go around, you're just like, you want to stop and get your phone out because it's unbelievable. It really
beautiful?
is. Just beautiful. Yeah. And it changes. It's so green. Like you're in Gerenga Fjord and it is so green and lush and waterfalls flying everywhere because there's been so much snow melt and stuff like that. The Seven Sisters are in full flow, and it's just beautiful. But it was misty as well.
No.
We didn't have much sun in that early part, and just to see those things, because me and Dave were looking at each other because we'd been there on my 40th birthday, and Dave had come with us in the cruise, hadn't he? Like, you know, that was 22 years ago, and we'd only ever seen it from the ship. And not really done much. We did a few tours, didn't we, in a bus, but you don't really get to see much. But to actually be in it and drive those roads yourself is something else. It really,
Did
really
you do
is.
a lot of speaking? Because like talking from a woman's point of view, like me and Tess never stop talking.
Yep.
Did you do a lot of speaking and going, like talking about this scenery? I mean, I don't mean just like boring boys stuff like, oh, this engine is fast or whatever, or do you remember that hob or whatever? But did you do lots of talking about what you were doing, or were you just being silent and looking out the window and going?
No, there was lots of talking. The car was one of the main talking points that we would spark a conversation. This bloody car, because it was a Toyota that just pinged every 2 seconds. A bit like that one we've got down there. It just, every minute you pass the speed sign, it pings you, and then it pings you when you go 2K. So anyway, that was the talking point. And we would cancel it all, set it all up thinking, yeah, this is great. Turn it on again, it would all default back to that. So things like that, that was the start of the talking point, like,
I just think it's so interesting listening about a man's trip, and then knowing what a woman's trip consists of.
Yeah, but we just talked. We kept just saying to each other, "Can't believe we're doing this." Can you?
Did you?
Can't
That's
believe
good.
we're doing this. And as long as you were aware of what you were doing, and we just, do you want to stop at this vantage point? It's like, yep, because there was no rush to get to the next place. If it took us an extra hour, it took us an extra hour, didn't it? Like,
Yeah.
So that's what the lovely thing was of being able to give you a little bit of leeway, and plus the speed limit's only 80k. That's all you can do there,
Right.
unless you're on the special highway. This is
So
probably
there
a
was
toll
no
road.
rush.
No, there was no rush. It was like real slow.
And you said all
travel.
the ferries were free, and
Some of the ferries, if there's less than 100,000 cars a year go on the ferry, so we were going up and out through the Ring of Islands, and if they don't have more than 100,000, it's free. And so one of them was like 3 hours long, and you're like, this is crazy.
But you're on it for
is.
free, yeah.
for free.
Yeah.
And one was like 30 minutes, and another one was 15 minutes. So it was just great to do those things. And even the one from Boda to not Jetvik, but something like that. I can't remember the name. No, I can see it in my mind. Meskenis or something like that. That was like a 4 or 5 hour trip, and it was only 50 euros.
Right. So that part wasn't expensive.
They've really, some things are designed to be cheaper for you. So it keeps that route open, I suppose, and makes people want to go there and stuff like that.
What about Norwegian people? Are they friendly?
Yes, they are. The majority of them are very friendly, especially if you speak English to them. They're just, their eyes just lift up, and then they want to start talking to you because you're actually communicating to them. They'll say something to you, and then you answer back, and then they answer back, and you can see it's like, oh my God, my
Sorry,
English is
when
good.
you speak English?
When you speak English to them, yeah.
Oh, right. You think it would be the other way, wouldn't you? Like you're not making an effort.
No, they
to
love
speak my language.
they love to get a chance to be able to speak English because they've got all English programs on the TV.
That'd
But
be
they're
so
all
weird,
in
wouldn't it?
subtitles, all like BBC stuff.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
it is.
Did you ask them if they'd seen your YouTube channel?
No.
Well, you
But
should
they
have
said,
done.
all right, Bri. I was listening.
So, I mean, every photograph that I saw of you, you just looked so happy.
Well, that's a photograph though, isn't it?
Well, photos don't lie, right?
Yeah, I know, but
Unless you've
it's
been
like,
touching
right,
them.
let's get this one.
No,
then you
but
take about 10 of them, then send the one
why?
that
You
you're
saying you
smiling
weren't
at.
happy?
No, I was happy. I wasn't saying I wasn't not happy, but you're saying like I was more happy than when I was with you.
Did I say that?
Well, it didn't. It's what it sounded like to me.
Really?
Yes.
No, I didn't say that.
What did you say then?
I said,
Yeah.
you're so sensitive.
What?
Not everyone's out to get you, you know, Bri.
I know, but it sounded like you were.
said, well, I'm sorry, but all I said, you can rewind the tape. All I said
Yes.
was every photo I saw of you, you looked really happy.
Yeah. Yes.
No, you did.
Yes.
Do you know what? It
What?
was flipping. I think I said it in one of my video diaries. It was just gorgeous to see you three together.
Yeah.
It really was lovely. I was dying to know, like the nosy Parker in me was dying to know what's going on and, you know, what you're talking about and you know, what's the atmosphere like and like, you know, what you know, is there any aggro and all, you know, all the stuff that you want to know. And I know now that there wasn't because I've asked you and you're like, no, nothing like that at all. Oh, that's boring then.
Yeah, but there's just, do you know, what? There wasn't any aggro.
No,
there
well,
was,
there wouldn't because it's your brother.
Yeah, I mean, once Sonny, you know, and David came up to me and said, you know, he was sitting in the back of the car. He wasn't feeling too good, and he'd made camp in the back of the car instead of Sonny being in the back, even though Sonny was driving. But when Sonny wasn't driving, he'd always go in the back of the car so he could get back onto his server to do more coding, like, you know. But when he was driving, Dave was this particular day because lots of bends and pulling out and this, that, and the other, and Dave was getting thrown around a bit in the back of the car, like, you know. And he came to me the next day and said, "Oh, Sonny's a bit erratic sometimes when he's driving, isn't he?" It's like, yeah, well, he's 23, and that's how you drive when you're that age.
It's enough. So what do you expect?
Yeah. And he said, "Well, shall I say something?"
What?
And I'm like, "No,
I dare you.
I don't think you should because you know it's just going to blow his confidence sideways."
Oh.
You know.
Actually, do you know what? This is what we're missing. This is what we're missing in New Zealand. Now, of course, we've lost my mum.
Yeah.
You should have said, yes, say it to me.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But
because kids need their uncles and their grandparents.
Yeah, just to say something that might not be like as if it's like another moan from your dad.
You think about it,
I
right?
know,
When
I
we
see
were
what you mean,
kids,
yeah.
we had our, you know, my uncle and auntie. I wouldn't dare like play up in front of them.
Back up.
Well, phone him up and just say,
so-
you know that, you know, do you remember when he was throwing you around
He's just
in the
about
back,
to drive
Dave?
again. Would you just like to tell him that?
No, it's funny, isn't it? Because I look at, like, I'm always like jealous of the mouldy people when you see them all together with their bit, and they're all like, oh, auntie, like, you know, and you
I know
just
what you
think,
mean,
I
yeah.
love it.
I know.
I do. I love that side of it, that family. So,
Yeah.
you should have said, yeah, go on then.
Yeah, maybe you should. But I mean, Sonny, it was his first time he'd ever driven on that side of the road in a left-hand drive car, apart from 5 minutes in a car in America or Canada or wherever it was, like, you know, just driving for 2 minutes, but not the same, like, you know. But yeah, it's
Was it lovely to bond with Dave?
yeah, it was great because, you know, my brother moved away from England to Florida. It would be over about nearly 45 years ago. I think I was just turned 18, maybe 19 at the most. So yeah, maybe 43 years ago. And we've only spent holidays or met up in England and spent probably, you know, a week or so together or stuff like that. We did spend that cruise, which was about 10 days, wasn't it? And we have been to Florida to see him, but it's not the same
It's
as
not
when
the
you're living
same
with
as that
someone, is it?
quality time.
Yeah.
Every time I saw your photos, I just thought, wow,
Yeah.
that is just incredible. And then you went on, when you came back, you went on to go to Cornwall and spend time with
Yeah.
your dad and your sister, and that was also lovely. But before we just talk about that, it's just like, I just wanted to say, just describe what the midnight sun was like for people who have never been to Norway or seen the midnight sun. Describe it.
When I did my first video diary, we just got into the Arctic Circle, and that meant at that time of year, literally by a day or two, I think it was the day before was the first day of 24 hours a day sunlight. So it just says on your app, even on your iPhone, it'll say no sunset, and that's just crazy, because and we were expecting blackout blinds and stuff like that, but there's nothing like that. They're just thin, either nets or thin screens, and so the room is really light. It's lighter than this, at 1 o'clock in the morning, especially if the sun's out. It's sunlight and streaming through your window sometimes. And you're just like...
So do you actually feel tired?
No, it's funny. You do. Physically, you feel tired, but mentally, your circadian clock is going, sun's not gone down yet.
Yeah.
And you feel it. You're looking at the sun, and it makes you want to go outside and look at it. And it's like there's this calmness because the Norwegians have gone to bed. But like silly sod tourists are like, look at this, and looking, and you're thinking it's 1 o'clock. I don't want to go to bed, but we've got to be out here by 10 in the morning and gone, So you're lucky if you go to bed now, you might get 8 hours sleep. You've got to pack breakfast and out. So that side of it, that's when it was nice when you had that second night, because some nights we would. One place was is what's it called, Havesund, which is in line with I can't remember the name of the place now. Isn't it? Is it
You've
crazy?
lost your memory a bit, Brian.
No,
I think
but
you've
what
been
it
drinking
was,
too much of that liquor.
It's only like 10 kilometers short of as far north. It's another peninsula that goes out almost parallel with
your microphone.
The North Cape. And so we went up onto this where the wind turbines are, and saw the midnight sun really for the first time, trying to see it through a broken bit of cloud. And there was this cruise liner coming out from around Cape Horn, which is where North Cape is, and it was at midnight, and you just hear the hooter of the ship going as it's midnight. And it was almost like it was trying to break through. You could just see the silver lining on a cloud with the sun behind it that wouldn't get quite round it to just shine in our face, and that was pretty magical. And that was 2 nights before North Cape, and that was like I say midnight. We were up there, and then we got to North Cape. It was snowing when we were coming up over the ridge to get to it, because you have to go over like a big sort of up hairpin bends and then along a ridge to get to North Cape, and it was snowing and thick fog, and we were like, great, this is
because you expected it to be.
We just wanted it to be clear,
yeah.
And so
that gave you something to talk about.
we got to North Cape. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Paid the admission fee, which is probably €5.
What do you mean, admission fee?
You have to go. There's like a visitor centre.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Would you have to go in there?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you don't have to, but it was foggy and snowing. So what else are we going to do? So we went in there and we had some lunch, and then we went down and saw there's like a little theatre of lights or cave of lights and things like that, and just gives you a bit of background of what it is. And that's how I found out about it being found out by, discovered by an English sailor.
Robinson Crusoe.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so we decided that we looked at the forecast and it looked like it was going to break up a little bit about 11 o'clock at night. So we set off to North Cape at night at 11:30 again from the campsite, and got there, and we could kind of see the midnight sun at North Cape.
Did you take a drink?
No, we
you were
didn't.
driving,
No,
weren't you?
yeah. Actually, no, Sonny did. He took a beer.
Did he?
Yeah, because he took one of his New Zealand beers and cracked it open at North Cape at that
did
time of
he?
night, and I videoed him. And we all just had one swig of it. And that was it. And Sonny finished the rest. And then as we were driving back to the campsite, which was about 2:00 now, and we're coming past a place called Cape Horn, which is this almost vertical cliff with this, looks like a rhinoceros horn sticking out. And literally, I just caught it I was driving. I just caught it in the driver's side mirror. And oh no, Dave was driving, and I saw it, and I said, "You've got to stop because the sun's just come out."
Oh.
And we turned around, pulled the car over, got out the back, and started taking pictures of that. And the three of us are there pointing up at the sun, and we took some picture, and you can just see.
Did you feel present?
The Cape Horn there. Yes, of course we did.
Well, no,
Yeah.
you say
no,
course
we
did.
did.
Sometimes
Yeah, but you
don't
couldn't not be because
Yeah.
it was just wow.
Yeah.
It's 2:00 in the morning and we've got the sun.
Yeah.
And that's what we came here for, was to be at the furthest part north and see that sun.
Yeah. No, the
You
reason
know?
I asked that is because so many times you build something up in your mind, like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to go and see, I don't know, the Acropolis, or we're going to go and see, or whatever, the
Yeah, it's
midnight
not gonna
sun,
be as
you
good
know,
as what
and
you
you
think,
get there
or-
and you afterwards you think, oh, I wasn't really present for that. That's why I
Yeah.
say that. Did you?
Yeah, no,
was
you
it one of
you-
those moments
you-
you pinch yourself kind of thing?
Yeah, you did, because when we went back, it was quite clear. All the fog had gone, but it
Mm.
was just a broken sort of cloud. I'll put some pictures up of how it was for those of you watching on the video. And you can see it was like nearest down what we were going to see in the sun. But you're on these cliffs, and they're 1,000 feet high, these cliffs. And that's hard to, it's 1,000 feet high,
Wow.
a cliff, 300 meters tall.
How high is that?
Well, this building we're on now is about 40 meters.
As high as Mount Taranaki?
No, no.
Not as high as that?
No, that's 2,400 meters.
And what did you say this was?
They're 300 meters.
Oh, 300.
But for a cliff, that's tall for a cliff.
Yeah, not that
300
tall, though.
1,000 feet for a cliff?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, the ones in Boscastle or something like that, they're quite high.
Yeah.
Probably twice as high as them.
Oh, right. That is
so
high
they're
then,
really
yeah.
high. Yeah.
Hmm.
And you just look down and you're like, wow, look at that down there. And then you're looking out to sea and the sun is over the sea. But it's just not quite out. But when we drove back, like I say, we saw
What did
it.
you think when you looked out?
Just couldn't believe it, to be honest. You know, because when we'd been there in the ship, we'd gone there in the afternoon. So you never get to see it, do you? We saw the midnight sun on the ship. And even the captain of the ship said, I've been doing this for 15 years, this run. And this is the first time I've seen the midnight sun because it's always cloudy when I come up here.
Yeah, but I didn't ask that.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm
so
just
that
saying, what
makes
did
you
you
appreciate
think?
it so much.
Yeah, but what did you think?
What did I think? I just thought, wow.
No, I'm not going to accept
Oh.
wow. Wow's not good enough. Wow's a very weak word. What did you think when you stood there?
Yeah.
You're 63 years old,
2.
almost 3.
No.
Might as well round up to
Almost 2.
65.
Yeah.
You're 70. You stood there.
You've gone back.
You know, you're there with your brother and your son,
Yeah.
and you have made this happen, and you're standing on a massive cliff that isn't as high as Mount Taranaki,
No.
but it's higher than Boscastle,
Yeah.
and you're looking out to a sun that's never setting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Wow.
You're a stupid
horrible,
idiot,
aren't
you are. You really are. You make my job very hard.
I just,
Give me something good.
you know, I'm not descriptive.
Go on, you said Babbling Brook before. I was really impressed with that.
Because it was in a Charles book once. It blows your mind, Liz. It blows your mind because it was the pinnacle of, I could see it through in Sonny and David, that it was just like, we did it.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. It was like, we did it.
There
you know?
you go, yeah.
And you just think, but yeah, you could, yeah, and anyone can just fly up there and go and see it, or they can get in a car and go on a cruise, or do a guided tour with someone else, or, you know, there's lots of buses there. There's probably about 200 people up there at night.
200 people?
Yeah, because they've all gone to see it. Like, you know, there's a whole bus of Japanese people just literally, they were there at midnight and we'd got there just after.
Should have whipped the microphones out and had a little
well, I always
podcast
think so,
interview.
you know, so when you've done that and you've planned the trip, everything yourself, and just trying to do research from YouTube to Google, and where is that road that you have to go on to see all those sites, you know, and like ferries that were starting in 3 days because we were doing it in early season. that meant we couldn't do that one bit of the trip, and we had to drive a 7-hour detour around. And it's just, not the one we missed, but this was another ferry that so we did miss a tiny bit of the tour out, and even on the trip, I'd planned it so you'd get somewhere and you'd have to go up to a place and then come back and carry on the trip. So we could just see that fishing village or whatever it was,
Was it relaxing?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So why did you say when I saw you, I'm absolutely knackered?
Because it's tiring. But you can be relaxing, which it was, because it was just like, we're nothing else to do other than what we're doing. Like, when I say tiring, there's so much driving. That the last, when we left North Cape, that was the rush to get back to Oslo. But the quickest route is through Sweden and Finland and Sweden. So it was about 2,300 kilometers, and we did it over 3 days. And bearing in mind, you can really only do 80 to 90 to maybe 100K in Sweden as well. So it's a long, that first day we drove, I think it was 11 hours. The next day was 8 hours. And the next day was about 7.5 hours just to get back, because you can't speed there.
Right.
There's speed cameras every.
And then when you
5K.
got back, you flew over to Cornwall.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
To see your family for a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah. Again, there was a whirlwind whiz around everybody and see as many people as we could, which was great, and lots of laughter, lots of fun, especially because Dave and me and Sonny were there. It was
your sister Linda.
Yeah, Linda and nephews. Zach and Jake, we spent plenty of time with them and their houses and things. And Phoebe and Martha as well, we spent time with them, or they would come over and see us. We had like a big party on the Sunday before we left. And it was just so lovely to see everyone and see the laughter and hear it all.
Yeah.
Did some great pictures and stuff, and got to see the kids as well and stuff like that. So it was brilliant.
Did it feel a little bit like when you were leaving, because I know sometimes if you've done a massive adventure like that, because it really was an adventure, you had a family group chat going.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And you had so many photos being put up and everyone was like, where are you now? And what are you guys doing? And all these pictures of you holding like different different drinks. And there was one where there was a big white hare rabbit thing.
Yeah, we saw reindeer and just like these up at North Cape. We have big hares running around. Huge, big, and through the snow. It's just like, whoa.
Did it feel when you? I'm not being a lie. I don't want to. I'm not putting. I was saying this to you when we got first met, and Sonny was like, "Why are you asking him questions like this?" But I just want to know, like, did it feel like when you left? How can I explain it? Did it feel like, oh no, I don't want it to. This is like our little trip. This is the three of us. This is our adventure. I don't want it to end and come back to reality. Did it feel like that or not? Am I just putting words in your mouth?
It did to a degree, but I think those last 3 days was just like, we need a change.
Oh, really?
It's like, we've done a lot now.
Why did you need a change? Is there arguments?
Gosh. Boys don't argue, so they don't. All right.
So boring. Go on then. Why did you need a change?
Just because you needed a break.
Do you know what? I thought you were going to say because you missed me then.
Yeah, no.
You needed a break.
Yeah, you just need a break from packing and unpacking. In that short period of time, we packed and unpacked, I don't know what, 10, 15, 20 times or whatever. Normally you'd do that over a long period of time, a 6-month period if you're doing long-term travel. But this was just like, it just felt like you were constantly on the go, which was great. But I think the achievement of doing what we did, and we got to see the sun, and it was weird because we got to Finland, driving back.
So
I know,
exotic.
yeah, but
we want
do you know
Finland.
What? You don't see anything on the road because it's just trees, like huge pine trees either side of you.
I'd love to go to Finland.
Yeah, but there's nothing we couldn't see anything from the road. Obviously, you get to the odd bit where it's like, oh, I've got a view across a lake or something, and it's beautiful. But again, in the north up by Norway, it was still quite snowy. But the weather just changed like overnight, and it was just blue sky.
Yeah.
And the whole trip right down through Sweden, the first day of traveling through Sweden, it was just trees. It's just trees after trees after trees. You know, I only saw one IKEA shop, which is crazy. But
So was there any like last night? Oh, boys, look.
yeah, we did.
Did you?
When we tipped the Aquavic out, I think that was when we couldn't drink it, so we tipped it out in the snow. And we did a cheers and everything because we all took us one last swig of it, and it was just like it's horrible.
And was it like, here's to us?
Yeah, here's what we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I think I videoed that. Dave pouring it out. Don't eat the yellow
It's
snow.
such a massive, adventurous achievement.
Yeah,
that you've
I mean,
done.
it's not like going through the
No,
Sahara
Brian.
or something,
No,
but do you know
no.
what? It was just
Don't dismiss it. It was massive what you did. The fact that you planned all that trip. The three of you went together. There was no, I mean, I'm winding you up, but there was no argy-bargy. There was no, it was smooth. You had a fantastic time with your brother.
Yeah, it went like clockwork.
And
it
your
really
son.
did.
And
But-
it's just like, you will, well, I don't think you will ever do that. Well, maybe you will.
No, I don't think we would.
I don't want to say never, but
yeah, you wouldn't. But
what a bloody amazing experience, Bri.
And it took it every day. We appreciated because when we were like 10 days or halfway through it, which would have been about 11 days, because it was a 21-day trip, 3 weeks up and 3 days back down. And we just said, it feels already like I've been away for about 3 weeks. And at the end of it felt like I've been away for 2 months.
Yeah.
Because not that it was boring or anything like that. It wasn't. It was just appreciating it and slowing time down.
Yeah.
And it just did. It really slowed it down because there was no rush and there was hardly any traffic in places. The only time you got traffic is when we missed the ferry and we had to go through this huge long tunnel behind a tanker that Sonny was about 2 inches from behind. But anyway. But the great thing is, the whole trip, we videoed the whole trip.
Yeah, you bought a dash cam or something,
Yeah,
didn't you?
it's a 4K dash cam. Dave brought up over from the States with them, and we videoed the whole thing. So if anyone ever wants to see that, then maybe we'll put it up into a, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what you should do? You should put that on a channel because sometimes you see it, don't you? Like, driving through Auckland or driving through San Francisco, and it's
they
like
just
3
wanna
hours
drive.
of just driving.
Yeah, just driving.
And
Yeah.
that's actually really relaxing. Can you hear you talking though?
No.
You could
But
just set it
I
to
just,
some
I
music.
just put
and
music behind it, yeah. But there's
Maybe you should do
hours and
that.
hours and hours. There's a terabyte of footage.
Yeah, because people really like that.
Yeah, just
I don't
something
want to
going
say
on in the background.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like just something to just zone out and just watch and just don't have to think and don't have to listen to people talking. And so that would be a really great thing for you to do.
Yeah, and it's really good quality.
I bet it is. Yeah.
Apart from when you're driving into the sun, the dash cam had this strange anomaly that it would put a black dot in the middle of the sun.
Right.
I think that was maybe to say that's the sun for dash cam reasons. Like, it's not just a bright light or something,
So what's the one thing that took you by surprise about your Norway trip that you weren't expecting or hadn't planned for or just didn't expect?
I think just the sheer price of some things that just none of us could believe. Even Dave was like, well, they said it was expensive, but this is like ridiculous.
How much did it cost the whole trip?
It cost 12,000 New Zealand dollars for 3 weeks in Norway.
For three
of us. Yeah,
12,000 New Zealand.
That's including the car hire, all the accommodation, all the food, all the tolls, all the ferries.
So 4,000 each.
Yes.
It's not bad
No,
for
that's
an
'cause
experience, a lifetime
yeah,
experience.
a lot of it was as cheap as we could. Accommodation that was suitable for 3 guys, had at least 2 bedrooms, and some of them were 3 bedrooms. Some of them were really nice places that we stayed in. Some of them not so nice, and the ones I thought were going to be really nice weren't as nice as the ones that we thought were going to be.
Always the way that.
Yeah.
What was it like sharing a bed with Sonny?
It was fine. It really was.
Was
He's
it?
quite, but he had a cold. He had the cold, so he was snoring a bit, and I was obviously snoring because I had to wake up and go, "How'd you sleep?" And I go, "Oh, I slept all right." And I go, "Was I snoring?" "Yeah, Dad, you were snoring." And he said, and I said, "Well, you were as well." "I don't snore." He said his girlfriend said he never snores, so you were snoring, like snoring. I said the one night we were 3 beds, 3 single beds, like the three little pigs or whatever it was, Goldilocks. There was Sonny in one bed, I'm in the middle bed, and David's in the other bed. And I woke up at probably about 3
That
o'clock
was a sight.
because it's bright sunshine outside, and like all I can hear is Dave snoring and Sonny snoring, as loud, just super snores, this stereo snoring. And you just think,
Yeah, but you snore as well, so
but obviously not when I'm awake. Because we all had colds, like really, we got colds on the plane, I think, going over there. And, but then you just go, oh, it's my brother and that's my son.
yeah.
And you just go, ah. So you
It's really
just
funny with the
relax,
kids, isn't
go
it?
back to sleep.
Because Tess took the most hideous picture of me on the plane coming
Nice.
over, just with my mouth wide open. I just looked like a gopper fish, just like sitting there on the plane fast asleep. Just the ugliest picture you could ever imagine. She's wetting herself showing it me. She's like,
Yeah,
oh,
bet
look
she
at you,
was.
look at you. You need some mouth tape. You need some. You need
She's
to
more than that, love.
You need to sew your jaw up. And I said, well, everyone opens their mouth when they sleep. She said, well, I don't. No, I don't. Anyway, she
Oh.
fell asleep next to me. I didn't have the heart though.
Oh, I would have.
Oh no, I didn't. But I was dying to like take a picture and go, there you go.
I know, I saw her on the plane coming over asleep with her
Yeah.
mouth open. I thought, oh.
But then again, she looked cute.
Yeah, but she did.
But
She just
she's
looked
20,
lovely.
so she's
I know,
going
she's
to.
going to, isn't she? She took a picture of me. I thought, who's that?
Yeah, I know.
She did as well. Said the same thing to me. Well, thanks, Tess.
Well, do you know
we
what?
haven't talked about Paris.
No,
so
I was
should
just-
we do
no.
that the next one?
Yeah, we're
and
gonna
just
do
do
that the
my
next
video
one.
diaries on the end of
Yes.
this and yours on the next one. That would be
I
work
knew,
out really
yeah,
well, wouldn't
it's. I don't want to rush it, and I don't
it?
want.
No, I think it's too much to talk about.
I
isn't
think it is. When
And
you
it's-
spend a month apart from each other, I think you should dedicate a separate podcast. So
Yeah.
let's do that. Let's
All
have
right.
this podcast as your trip
Yep.
to Norway. We'll put all your video diaries on the end of this.
Yep.
And then next time I'll tell you all about Paris.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. And don't be frightened off by Norway. It's worth every penny to go and see it.
Why would something? What would
'Cause
make
say
people be
it's
frightened?
People say it's expensive. It's not that expensive.
just said it
but-
was.
Yeah, it is. But do you know what? We were out because the night the hob didn't work and we couldn't get into the La-di-da restaurant, but everyone wanted to go and have steak. So it's like, oh, guess what? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take everyone for a beer.
Can I have some of your ouzo, please?
Oh, I was saving that to after. Oh, God, that went down in one. Jesus, that's not some. That's just clang.
Oh, it's lovely ouzo, isn't it?
It is. It's really nice.
Good for you, aniseed, isn't it,
Yeah,
Brian?
it really is.
Good for the stomach.
Yeah, honestly, takes away the effects of alcohol, honest. And we went for a beer, 3 craft beers. How much?
For 3, what does that mean?
Well, a craft
Tin?
beer just means it's like a local microbrewery.
For
Not like a can of Carlsberg or
£10
Heineken.
each? $10 each. 10 New Zealand dollars each.
Yeah, it worked out around about $18 each for 1 pint of beer. So was it 52 or whatever dollars it was?
Listen, you know the Norwegians, they are very, very, very healthy. They don't want tourists coming over, slamming down the beers.
Well, they're all in the liquor shop
What?
buying it, and
Yep.
they're all in the bar.
I know, but what I'm
Oh.
saying is Norway is famous for healthiness.
Skål.
Yeah, it's famous for fish. Did you eat much fish?
No, because we were traveling.
Right.
Well, you can't travel with fish, can you, in the car?
Tin of tuna?
Well, no, we had some. I tell you, what was nice one night. Yeah, the first 3 nights we turned up beside a supermarket, and there was a guy with a drop-down front van selling loads of fish, but it was all
Knocked off?
smoked. Yeah, no,
Knocked off?
No, it wasn't knocked off, was it? It's like fell off the back of a wagon. There it is, mate. It's a broken box of fish.
Is there anything you can tell me that's a bit juicy?
No, because it's
Well,
Norway.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes.
They're all it's like the Norwegians and the Swedes. They're all controlled by the government.
What do you mean they're controlled by the government? No, they're
'Cause
not.
Yeah, they are. They're taxed to bloody
Doesn't
buggery.
mean they're controlled.
Yeah, but it is.
Why?
Because it's like they think that because they're in this safe communities and they have to go to work, the wages are a little bit high, but everything is so expensive and they're taxed like ridiculous amounts.
Yes, but it's safe. And they're not
Is
all
it?
alcoholics.
No, but they're not happy.
Of course they are. It's
No,
the
they're not.
happiest. Brian,
What, Norway?
have you ever heard of the book The Danish?
No, that's Denmark. That's Denmark, isn't it? But Denmark, isn't it? It's like a Cornish there. Denmark is not Sweden and Norway. And they're the same. But guess what? We get free healthcare.
Well, I think I've never seen, personally,
Yes.
I've never seen you looking so happy as I
Yeah.
have in your photos.
I think what it was
when
is
you're in
because
Norway.
I
So they're
know
doing
I
something
didn't live
right.
there. No, I loved it. That's what I'm saying. But you can just see the way a government, it makes everything super safe. And it's like too safe. Like made it like a nanny state, and it really feels like a nanny state, like, you know, because everything's a little bit too perfect in places, but it's not quite finished. You know, does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. What do you mean? What not quite
They
finished?
make it so safe, and the next minute you're on the road, and there's like 1,000-foot drop to the left, and there's no crash barrier there. But
Right.
it's been crash barriers all the way, apart from where you really needed it, like, you know,
It's
because
getting
it's
good,
a
this
bit quiet.
podcast now,
Yeah.
because now you've had your ouzo, you're opening up a bit. This is
No, I
what you
didn't
should
get
have
a
told me
chance.
at
I
the
better
beginning.
just have some more.
I know. So never mind the waterfalls and the midnight sun. So what is it?
Yeah, but
You're
that's-
falling off the road.
Do you know? Yeah, but do you
The
know?
barrier.
No, as an observation, like with the safety things for the hobs, like, you know, it doesn't work, mate. Stop doing it. Like, you know, I know it might be to save fires. Yeah,
Stop it.
but what I'm saying is they make it like, you know, when you don't have to use your head and think. You can just blur around because all my safety devices are going to work for me.
Oh, right.
Type
I see
thing.
what
You know
mean.
what I mean? And it just, I don't know. It just, lots of speed cameras.
Did it not challenge you enough? Is that what you're saying? Like
No,
you couldn't
it becomes
break the rules or whatever?
Yes, to a degree, it gets to the point where you've got this exciting piece of road, and you just think, "Yep." Not only can I not put my foot down, but the silly car I'm in is going to tell me I'm driving too fast.
Right.
And you know, if you'd put it into cruise control, I just wanted to go into cruise control. But no, it's got to be adaptive cruise control, and it's got to have lane assist, and then you can try and turn the lane assist off. And it steers around the corners for you, but
Oh, God.
it drives like a backseat driver. It shakes as it goes round, and you just think, oh, it is actually driving, but it's like having a 17-year-old driver driving it. So don't put it on, just turn it off. You know, those sort of things that we just think supposed to improve your life, but it doesn't.
Mm.
And we just thought we had to turn all the stuff off in the end because it was just nicer to drive like a car should be driven. And just all those, I don't know.
So what you're saying
it's
is you did-
amazing because some of the tunnels you go down as you're driving under the sea,
Yeah.
and you can see your sat nav. You're in the blue, you know, and there's water dripping in through the caves and things. And it's
Christ, I thought you were going to say in the
there's
car
no,
then.
there's
I was
no,
like, what?
there's no like concrete there. It's just caves. What you're driving through.
Really?
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's
You drive
amazing.
through a cave
It's
under
like
the sea?
caves, like. It's just hollowed out the solid rock because it's so rocky, like, you know, there's hardly any concrete in the tunnel. And it's just amazing. But
Right.
you're driving down for three kilometers at a steep 11% gradient. Then you go along about a kilometer on the flat. And then you go up the other side and you come out, you're on a different island. And it's just like, wow, how much did that cost? You know, but that's what they did. All the oil they got, they spent it on the infrastructure of the company.
But did you feel as if you were being like everything was like too perfect? Is that what you're saying? That you felt as if
just a little,
you weren't free?
You hardly
or?
saw a police car, but I don't know. Lots of speed cameras just coming up to intersections, which is understandable. You can see why, like,
Yeah.
you know. But you're only doing 80 anyway. But literally, they'll drop you from 80. They'll drop you to 50 on a main highway, and right on the 50 sign, there's the speed camera. It's not like 100 meters down the road. It's right on the sign.
Right.
So, you know.
Are there any countries that like are the opposite to that in the world, where they just are like, well, do you know what?
Well, it used
no
to be,
health and
didn't
safety,
it?
get
used
on with
to be.
it.
Yeah, I
Do
don't.
what you want.
You know what? I've always been in for health and safety. Everyone should get home
No,
safe.
I don't
at
mean
night,
health and
but-
safety, but I just mean, are there any countries that are the opposite to a country that's really, really strict
Stringent.
rules,
Oh, that's-
stringent?
yeah.
You know,
And you must adhere to
yes.
these things.
Are there any countries
You know,
that
even
the
down to the recycling, it's got to go in that particular thing. It can't go in this, and it gets so confusing, especially if it's not written in English. You're like, I didn't know what to do.
Well, what would happen if you didn't?
I don't know. There's probably a camera in the bin. You know.
That's probably why Sonny said today, because we went to Lidl's
Yeah, there you
shopping.
go.
Yeah, we went to Lidl's too because we're going to the Greek island of Paros in a couple of days, and we wanted some beach chairs. So
Yeah.
we found this big like hardware store, you know, like a Mitre 10 place that sold them. We drove into the centre of Athens, and there was nowhere to park, and there was a Lidl's opposite, and we were like, oh, just park in Lidl's, and we'll walk over the road. And Sonny was like really nervous.
Yeah, he was,
like,
wasn't he?
You can't park here because you haven't bought anything.
They'll
I was
tow you.
like,
It says they'll tow truck will
you'll
come.
the
tow
police
you
will
away.
come. And I was like, Sonny, relax. I said, it's a supermarket. Yeah, but it's quite clearly says you've got to be a customer. I said, I'll go and buy a bottle of water. So what? What's the big deal? But he was
Yeah.
like, I'd never seen him like that before. I wonder if that's why.
Yeah, but you know, you'd park your
He's had
car.
a month of
You'd
it.
park your car in a shopping mall, and we were literally gone for 40 minutes, to go and get, because we went to buy some wine and a bottle of Jack Daniels, and you have to go. It's more than likely you have to go to a shopping mall because that's where the Vin monopoly is, and it's called Vinopoly, and because they have the monopoly on liquor. They're the only company that can sell it, and you go to a supermarket to buy your food for 2 or 3 days because we're going on the next trip. This is in Trondheim. Come back to your car, €15, please.
For what?
An hour's parking.
In the supermarket?
Yeah. In the shop, in the mall.
That you've actually just shopped at?
Yeah.
That's a bit weird.
€15. Slightly cheaper if you have an electric car. It's just like, hello.
Does it feel like it's somewhere out the future?
No, it doesn't. No, not at all. No, it just feels.
I'm getting the impression that it
a
feels
bit
like Wally Land.
It feels a bit like you're in. No, it feels a bit like you're in Germany or Holland, or even France at times. But up the north, it starts to relax because there's not many people there, and it starts to relax a bit more. But I got a cold and I went to get.
You've told us 10 times now about your bloody cold. Everyone, Brian has had a cold.
It's the first cold in 5 years.
Yeah,
That's
I know,
why
but
I
you've
never got
mentioned it 5
COVID, and I got a cold.
I've got a cold. I've had a
going
cold.
to Norway on a plane.
Yeah, go on. So
Anyway.
did you have a cold?
I did have a cold. Did I tell you I had a cold? Really bad cough. I went to the pharmacy.
Right.
And you can only buy Nurofen from a pharmacy. All right? As in ibuprofen. You can't buy it from the supermarket or the petrol station or anywhere. You have to go to the pharmacy. So you have to find a pharmacy if you want to buy stuff like that. And you can only buy 10 tablets at a time from the pharmacy. So that's what I'm saying. It's that nanny state.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's just like I'm going away for 2 weeks, and you have to find a pharmacy, mate. Well, I'm going up a mountain, so what do I do?
Especially Nurofen. It's not like it's drugs,
But
is
you can
it?
go back in the next day and buy 10 more if you want.
Yeah,
but it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just silly.
But maybe they're trying to just,
No, but
protect
I'm just saying
people.
you're having a bad day. I can understand that. And I bought a pack of vitamin C, a bottle of vitamin C tablets, and there's no prices anywhere. And then you take it up, and it cost me $52. 52 New Zealand dollars.
Why didn't you just have some parsley? I've told you.
Oh, Liz, you
There's a
know
lot
what I
of
mean?
vitamin
It's
C.
just that side of it. You just think, how does anyone afford to live here? Oh, but it's free healthcare. Really? It wasn't free for me, was it? The reason why that was because when we were in Trondheim having our expensive $52 beer or $54 beer. There was a guy from Norway and there was a girl from Canada. And obviously, they were talking to us. They said, "Oh, where are you guys from?" And I said, "Oh, I'm from New Zealand." Dave's from America, and they said, "Oh, I couldn't live there."
That's a good job you don't then.
Yeah, and Dave said, "Why is that?" "Oh, because it's not free healthcare." And he said they take the house off you when you're in if you're not well and you need to get fixed up. And Dave said, "Not in Florida, they don't." He said that you can't take someone's house for healthcare; they will fix you up and sort you out.
Oh, anyway, I'm not sitting here having a political conversation
but that's
with you,
what
Brian.
they think was so good. I'm not talking about politics.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to talk about America.
That's what they're perceiving about the country that they're living in is so safe.
Right.
And everybody else's country is not as safe as ours.
Okay.
Because that's how...
You don't know what that country's like unless you live there, do you?
No, I don't. But just seeing it like that and just seeing that nanny state feel about it. And I thought Norway was going to be really sort of just laid back.
Everyone
and,
naked, free and easy.
Yeah, out in the saunas and stuff like that.
Rolling in the snow.
Yeah. That was a good night when we were in Sweden because we watched the Eurovision Song Contest.
Oh.
And all my sister's family were watching it back in the UK, and we were texting each other.
I saw that on your group
especially when
chat.
the Swedish one came on, and we were yelling, and the people in the campsite could hear us yelling because we were going, "Come on, Sweden!" Because it was just showing a sauna song, whatever that was called. That was funny. Yeah, it was great.
So would you go back to Norway?
Yes, I definitely would. Just because it's beautiful. And when I was there, I was thinking, I'd love to bring you here.
Oh, don't try and add that right at the end of the podcast.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's
You
nice.
haven't mentioned me once.
I'm just
in the whole
saying.
time.
And when I was there and I was looking at some of the places,
Yeah.
I was just thinking I would love to take you there because you would appreciate the scenery.
Yeah.
Because it is so gorgeous, you know? And yeah, the South Island of New Zealand is beautiful, but that's to another level because Norway's such a skinny little country at the top, and you can only really go one way, or you can go the way we went, which is out hopping across the islands and ferries and things and peninsulas and this. And it was just amazing to see. And these roads that they've built, amazing. Yeah.
Would you do anything different if you had to plan the trip again?
No. Well, maybe just get an old-fashioned style car.
Yeah.
Yeah, without all the safety features.
Right.
And just be a real person. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Honestly, that was it. It just felt you were driving in a very comfortable car, and it was a comfortable car. It was pokey, it was fast, but just too many silly gadgets on it that when you turned them off, they came back on when you turned the car on. And we were stopping every 2 minutes to go and film. And so imagine how annoying that is. You come back, it's all reset. I even downloaded the app and said it was me, and it would say, "Welcome, Brian Deacle," on the screen.
It
and you're
knew
thinking
you.
it would know me, and it would adjust the seat and this, that, and the other, but it wouldn't take out those silly settings.
So you'd hire a different car. You'd go in an old-fashioned car.
Oh, I'd love to have taken that 205
Yeah.
GTI. Wow, that would have been the car. You know, it would have just wouldn't have occurred if it had been icy or snowing. That would have just been brilliant. Yeah.
It's so funny because
Or we wouldn't have seen over the barrier. That's the only thing. That's why I needed a higher up car.
I won't talk about Paris now, but as you're talking, I'm thinking that is the complete opposite experience that I had in Paris.
Right.
Because we were like riding bikes, no helmets, weaving in and out the traffic.
Yeah. That's how you
all
imagine
that.
it should
yeah,
be.
it was just
you
like,
know?
if anything, it was like, is no one going to pull us over here and
Yeah.
say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It was, ours was the opposite, but
Yeah.
I will talk about that on the next podcast. But so before you do your video diaries and we say
Yeah.
bye, is there anything else that you'd like to say about Norway and your trip and this once in a lifetime trip that you've just done?
No, I can see it all flashing through my eyes as I'm talking about all the people on the ferries and, the guys waving us on and things like that. And it was all calm and quiet and so smooth. And the one thing I think that's outstanding in Norway is electric ferries. How cool is that?
Why? What
I've never
normally are
been
they?
on- Well, they're all diesel, aren't they?
I don't know.
With smoke and
Oh, yeah.
it's just silent.
Oh.
It's like a Tesla on water.
Mm.
And they pull up, and we were looking over and thinking, what's that coming down? There's like this three big wire thing with a big plate that comes down. It gets collected in like this collector, and then it switches it over. It's like plugging it in to charge it up before it does its next trip. And you go on them, they're just silent. So they're really nice when you go on the ferries. And they're all
Are
self-service.
you allowed outside?
Some of them, no, you're not. You have to go, if they're small, they have a little, what they call a lounge.
You're going to be hanging over the barrier, don't you?
Yeah.
Looking at the dolphins.
The ones that are more seagoing,
Yeah.
yes, you can go out. And they don't hang around, but they're diesel or heavy oil or whatever they are. But they're all quite new ferries, apart from the one that takes you down the Gerenga Fiord, which is a beautiful old 1970s one. And that's like been really renovated with all wood handrails and things. And that's pretty, that ship. It really is.
So is it fair to say then that like if you were into like gadgets and like futuristic things, and I don't know, I seems to be lots of things like
No, it's not like that. I'm just saying the car we were in was futuristic, but I see what you mean with the ferries. No,
it
because
just feels like what you're describing
Yeah.
is something in the future. Like
Yes,
that
the
where everyone's
ferries
like,
are.
wow, look how
But
look
Norway
how
is
the
100
car knows my name and everything, and it's
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah,
ferries.
but that was me. But that was a Japanese car, wasn't it? But the ferries, everything is done by number plate recognition, so you don't pay anything on the ferries. When you hire a car there, they take a minimum of $500 as a deposit, because that's for your tolls and your ferries and things around. And I think we used $380 of it. And they give you a list of all the tolls that you've gone through. So you don't have to physically give any money, but you've got to have that thing on the car. Otherwise, you can't go on the ferries.
If I wanted to go to Norway and just
Yeah.
experience nature and Norwegians and like, are Vikings from Norway?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I thought.
Vikings and like just stand on a cliff and just shout,
Yeah.
the Vikings.
Well, you could do all that.
And so I'm not going to feel like, well,
Oh God, no,
It
no.
doesn't-
You can pull up at places. I'm just talking about the road trip side
Right,
of things.
okay.
You know, that's what I'm saying. It's beautiful, and there's plenty of places you can just walk wherever you want.
Yeah, that's what I'd
know,
want to do.
walk
I'd want
across
to
the tundra.
experience it for the
Yeah,
the animals and the
that was one of
wind
the big things. Is once you get past the Arctic Circle, the trees start to get smaller.
yeah.
They really do. Not in a. You just think, oh no, they're not. And there are little hidden valleys where there's good sized trees, or someone's planted one in their house that shouldn't really be there, but it's grown, like, you know. But as you go further north, the tundra, it just becomes like heather.
What does tundra mean?
It just means there's no trees.
Right.
There's shrubs and there's small bushes, no much bigger than what these are. No leaves on them this time of year in the winter, and they obviously bloom in the summer. But it's like this low tundra, which is like a low heather, like a low grass. That's what the reindeer feed off.
Ah.
And you can see where they've padded across, and you see reindeer walking across the
Did
road.
you get any video of reindeer?
I did a little bit of reindeer, but they're mainly up on the sides and stuff. And we were going along, it's just like, there's reindeer.
Ah.
And you're like, what? Reindeer? That's reindeer. It's not just deer, it's reindeer.
Yeah,
You know? And
yeah.
they look so different than just regular deer, like, you know, with their big pads that they have for feet. So
So you loved it.
yeah, it just it blows you away.
Yeah.
I say wow, because it is. You go, huh, look at that. You stop dead and go, look at that.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you just come around a corner and you can be like, oh my God, look at that.
Was it worth the money?
Yeah, because I think coming down to Myfield Bridge, where we stayed in a hotel, I think that drive down in that field was outstanding, because the blue sky that was out that day, and as we drove down through there, it was just beautiful. Like, you know, it was probably 5 o'clock in the evening and the sun was still high, you know, and that night the sun never went down. And the weirdest thing, people were coming in late at night, and I think I looked out the window and pulled the curtain back. I thought, what are they doing? And there's a whole bunch of people turning up at probably 12:30 at night. But it was just weird because the sun was out and they were going into their bedrooms to go to sleep. It just didn't seem right. So yeah.
Did it make you feel emotional?
Yeah, it does when you think back to
Yeah.
it, because it's just such a special thing to have done. And I know people live in those places and it's like, well, that's just the norm, like, you know. But we both said, or the three of us said, couldn't live here. Couldn't live in this because it's harsh. You see all the snow scooters just parked up in the middle of nowhere because the Sami, which are the local people, the indigenous people of that part of the world, the Lap people, the Sami they have lots of skidoos and they just live out in the tundra somewhere, in a wigwam or whatever it is, or in a settlement.
Really?
But just next to the road, there's just, the snow's gone and there's a snow scooter sitting there. It's like as if, oh, well, we can't get that home now, can we? Do you know what I mean? It's just, you see all these things and you just think, and the Sami are just you know, we didn't really get to see that many of them because they're kind of like in their own little settlements. And the one settlement or place that they've got the big Sami, sort of like almost like a council hall that they've built, this amazing new building that they built. We drove past it and I was pointing it out to Dave and Sonny. But I thought we should stay there, but we were on our way back. And when I saw it, there was nothing really there. It wasn't like, there's big car parks and everything around it, but I was thinking there's going to be a big town there, and there wasn't. And right at that time, there was Norway Independence Day as well. And to see all the Norwegians before we left, all dressed up in their traditional stuff, and lots of bands playing through the villages and towns that we were driving through. And some of the roads were closed, so we had to drive around the outside. But we're like, what's going on today? Why are all so many? And the Norwegians from Oslo to the North Cape, thousands of flags. They fly their flag with pride.
Yeah.
So you see that side of things and you just think, wow.
That's what I was going to say to you when you said about, it's a nanny set. You've got, until you live in a country,
you can't go what I'm saying. This is just an observation that I see. Maybe more Sweden's a bit more than Norway.
I think
because it was more relaxing when we got.
Patriotic, aren't they? Very proud of their country and very, very rich culture.
Yes, it is. Yeah. You know, when you look what happened in the war, and the one place that we stayed in, when the Germans left, they burnt it to the ground and they built this amazing town again. And you just think, that's right up there at the top. You know, Havesund. That to see that and think it was burnt to the ground. You just think, wow.
So before we leave the podcast,
Yeah.
Because I can see that you're getting emotional talking about this.
Yeah, but it is because it's a great thing to have done and seen.
So what emotion is it? Just what emotion is it evoking in you talking about this? Thinking about it.
The emotion of, because I'm from Liverpool and Scouse comes from Norway. Scouse was what they ate. It was the name of the stew. And there's something about, especially with Vikings and English and British, we have to have it in our blood because that's what they did. They invaded us and took over us and raped and pillaged and did all that stuff, and so there's something that pulls inside. And he's the blue-eyed boy. He's got the blue eyes of the Vikings. And you just think, well, that's where it's come from. And I think that's what we love. My old school teacher taught us about the Festival of Lights and stuff like that when we were tiny kids. And I always wanted to go there. And that's why we went on my 40th. Or, unknown to me, you booked it, didn't you? And to go, there's something there. Especially when you see that, even some of the pictures that I took, we bought a picture of mountains with energy, like lines of energy coming off it, and you see it every day when you're there, and you just look at it, you go, wow, that's what that artist did, because the way the clouds and the light, there's just an aura up there of something that's pretty damn strong,
pulls you to it.
Yeah, and you can see why they live there. Whether I could live anywhere, but had a choice. But you'd have to know 24 hours of darkness.
Well, Brian, it's nice to see a place bring out such emotion in you, to be honest. Any place that does that is a place worth visiting.
Yeah, that's what I say, is you've got to go.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to say, just because I've said it's expensive, don't not go.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing. Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is we are going to play your video diaries that you made.
I can't remember what I said, so there goes, eh?
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us on this extended, I think, podcast that we've talked about.
30 minutes.
It was, but you know what? You can't do a month's trip to Norway and have 30 minutes. And anyway, people like our long podcasts.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, if you are hearing beeps and noises and dogs, we're on the roof terrace of our Airbnb in Athens, in Kallithia in Athens. We're here for another 2 nights, and then we go off to the island of Paros with our son and daughter, and we're having a month over on the Greek islands to celebrate Tessa's 21st and just to have a family holiday together, the 4 of us together. So we cannot wait for that. We're surrounded by buildings with millions and millions of solar system, those heating things that you know about.
This has got to be the city of aerials.
Yeah,
it's
aerials.
Like television areas, like hundreds of television. It's not like a communal television mast on top of an apartment block. It's just like hundreds of masts.
And Greece
everywhere.
Is exactly as you imagine it to be. It's got white buildings with flat roofs, and people go on the roof and do what we're doing and be up there on the roof. We've got to do a separate podcast about Greece, because
yes, we will.
Returning to Greece is just like returning home.
It's where we used divine. To come, didn't we?
Yes.
When we were young.
Absolutely divine.
And work and do things like that here on the Greek islands. Yeah.
So hopefully we'd love it if you join us for my Paris trip, and I'll tell you all about Paris, where you can chat to me about that. But for now, sit back, enjoy Bri's video diaries. Please let us know by email, liz@itsadrama, brian@itsadrama, what you thought of this podcast. Please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yep.
And also, if you haven't already and you want to sign up for my free newsletter, where I share very, very honest stories from the heart about basically behind the scenes life, what's going on with us and our family, and how to inspire you with stories of travel and life and feelings and emotion. That sounds very, very deep, but it is very deep actually. So I'm not going to apologise for that. It's very real and it's lovely. So if you haven't signed up for that, that is www.itsadrama.com/front row. And I'll put that link in the description below. Love to have you with us for that. So let's jump on in and hear what you've been saying on your video diaries.
Sure, I mentioned I had a cold.
From Norway. Okay, I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, so kia kaha, stay strong so you can go and do those trips to the deepest, darkest north, or the lightest north as it was when we were there. And kia u, stay true. That's true to yourself in here. And Liz, did you miss me?
I'll tell you next time. I'll tell you all about it. I'll tell you what, my trip's been completely different to yours. I can tell you that.
See you then.
Bloody waterfalls in my videos.
Don't go chasing them.
Yeah. Okay.
Love you.
Bye. Bye.
Good morning from Norway. Well, it's been a week of travelling and I am now above the Arctic Circle. And it's pretty damn chilly. You can see that this is a field, so we're at sea level, but we've got mountains in the background covered in snow. So an impressive first week. It's been tricky because I've had a bit of a stinky cold, and so a bit of a banging head at times, and runny nose and all that sort of stuff after when you've been traveling and you're trying to enjoy where you are, but you just think, oh, you're feeling like shit. But apart from that, it's been amazing. The scenery is jaw-droppingly gorgeous. It's absolutely outstanding. We started off in Oslo. We spent 2 nights in the Black Fjord, or Fjord Blik. Then we went to Granja Fjord, over some mountains to get there, and some viewpoints and hairpin bends and everything else. And it was absolutely outstanding drive to the Granja Fjord, and we stayed in a campsite, very similar to these sort of ones. Where we are now, they had grass on the roof, just in a field overlooking the field in the distance. We spent 2 nights there, then heading on up to Trondheim. We spent the weekend there and 2 nights there. What's what we've been trying to do, we've got sort of 8 to 12 hour driving days, and on the bigger days, when we have the 12 hour ones, we spend 2 nights somewhere just to recoup. And then we on the shorter drives, we will stay. One night we stayed in a guest house. It was a 7-hour drive, but we just stayed 1 night in a guest house because there wasn't a lot around that area, and it was just kind of nicer to move on because we knew we had a big drive, and that corresponded to having some decent weather for that drive. It was a 12-hour drive with 4 ferries, 2-hour-long ferries and 2 20-minute ferries. You can see the ferry probably in the background. That's the last ferry we got on that day, to come to this wonderful little campsite. It's a place called Fjorda, F-U-R. It's an O with a strike through, which is pronounced as an A, I should say, and a Y at the end. Fjorda camping, and it's absolutely idyllic. It really is. It's gorgeous. It's quiet, apart from the ferry in the background. And today we are heading off to heading further north. We're going to a place called Boda, B-O-D-O, but again with the O with the A strike through, so it's pronounced more of a Boda. And there's actually a Europa League game on in the town tonight. The stadium holds 8,000 people, and they're playing Tottenham Hotspur. We even looked at it about getting a ticket. Not that I'm a Tottenham Spurs fan, but this is the first time a Norwegian team has been this far in this competition anyway, so I'd imagine the town's got a bit of a buzz tonight, and that's just corresponded the night that we're staying there. So pretty cool when you look at it like that. I'm going to try and do 3 sort of weekly updates on this video diary, so we can pop it in the end of mine and Liz's podcast when we get back together, when we meet up in Greece. But this is just thoughts on Norway for the first week. Beautiful country, extremely expensive, I've never known such an expensive country in all my life. And just a simple example, some vitamin C tablets and a pack of 10 Nurofen, 53 New Zealand dollars. It's just crazy. It really is. You can't buy a bottle of wine for under 20 US dollars. And it's just, it's so expensive. Food is expensive. You walk out with a shopping bag full of food and it's cost you $150, but you literally have one shopping bag. And that would be, I don't know, some chicken and honestly, it's so expensive. I can't believe how people afford to live here. I think that's why the majority of people in Norway leave Norway and go and live somewhere else. But hey, you get free healthcare. Wow. But it's expensive. But anyway, the good sides are it's beautiful. And it's just clean mountain air with sea smell to it, if that makes any sense, because you can see the kelp and stuff down here. So you get to smell the sea, but you've got that in the background. But anyway, right, that's enough for my first week in Norway. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. See you now. Bye-bye. Well, good morning from North Cap Camping. I am just literally about a 20-minute drive from the North Cape. So this is North Cap Camping. It's May the 17th today. May the 17th, and I'm going to take this to the snow still. It's so thick. For those of you who aren't watching on video, it's piled up about 2 foot at the moment at the side of me. There is a little bit of grass you can see popping through, but it just shows the extensity of how cold it gets here in the winter. But hey, we made it. We're here, and it's windier. Hopefully you can hear me. Let's try and get the other wind. It's been a super adventure. You just can't really put it into words. Some of the fields and things that we've seen has been absolutely outstanding. It's I don't know, so worth everything to get here. The miles that we've driven and everything just to see it, it's been unbelievable. We got here yesterday and it was snowing at North Cape. Poor visibility, you couldn't even see the sea. The cliffs are 1,000 feet high, that's 300 meters high, straight down, straight vertical drop to the sea. We couldn't see anything hardly. And then we decided to go back up at around 11:30 at night to see if we could see that midnight sun. And it was there behind clouds. You could see the pink rays coming through. And we would just say, it would be fantastic if it just would pop itself out so we could actually see how far above the horizon it is. It's about 4 degrees at the moment above the horizon, whatever that means. It doesn't really mean much, 4 degrees, does it? And we were there for about 45 minutes to an hour. And it wasn't changing. And then as we were driving back, I drove there originally so we could do the furthest road north on mainland Europe. I did that first, and my brother drove back up, Dave, at 11:30, and Sonny drove back to the campsite so we could all say we'd driven that section of road. And as we were coming back, I was checking the side mirror. I was the passenger in the front, and I just said to Sonny, you've got to pull over because the sun is peeking through a blue bit of sky. And so we got to see the midnight sun. And the great thing about that, where we actually saw that, was at Cape Horn, which is this piece of vertical rock that goes down with this little horn that sticks out. It's called Cape Horn. And that's where the name of the town has got Honnesvag from, and to see that, and we did take some pictures and videos, and it was just amazing to stand and get the full sunlight in your eyes at 1 o'clock in the morning. It was amazing. None of us could sleep that night. Because obviously our circadian rhythms just were way out. It's I don't know how people do. I love early mornings. I love getting up and seeing the sun come up. And you just hear, it's just all the time. And I know it's only for 2 months of the year, but 3 months of the year, but still, Yeah, anyway, that's another story. But it's just to say we're heading back down south today. It's a 3-day drive to 2,300 kilometres through Finland, Sweden, back into Norway, and fly out from Oslo on Tuesday morning. It's Saturday morning. It's FA Cup day today. So I'll keep you in touch of how the trip goes and fill you in on the road as I go back down. So this is it. We did it. Oh, and my brother's calling me. Breakfast is ready. Good timing.
Hello.
And what else was I going to say that we take? Oh, our medication. This is what we
That's the
talked.
worst, isn't it? But we did talk,
We talked about this last
Yeah.
week, but it's important
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah, because that takes up most of the,
Most of the case
Most
with
of the
Brian's
case.
testosterone now.
testosterone. It's like,
That's why he's not packing
I
anything.
just have an intravenous drip out of the case and don't go too far from the case.
Is it working, your testosterone?